Mercy Me is coming to Pittsburgh. The Together Again tour with Mercy Me, Crowder, and special guest Andrew Ripp. Thursday, October 5th. Bring your family and friends to the PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh for Mercy Me, Crowder, and Andrew Ripp live in concert. 3 multiple award-winning artists on one stage for one night. Let your spirit soar, your heart sing, and your faith ignite. Mark your calendars for Thursday, October 5th. Get your tickets now at mercyme.org.
It's exciting that the business boutique was made for you.
I know that I can make a difference in people's lives, and I want to do that.
Hearing a lot of what other people are going through is really healing in a sense and motivating as well.
I have the world in my hand, and I can do whatever I want to.
Learning from some of the top leaders who can make these dreams a reality is just so exciting.
It ignited a passion in me to know she can do that, we can do that too.
I'm so blessed to have heard the podcast that led me to this moment.
And welcome to the Business Boutique Podcast. I'm Christy Wright, and today is a really special day. If you've been following me on social media or listening to Dave Ramsey at all, then you know yesterday my book, Business Boutique, launched for real. Y'all, we've been talking about this for months, and so much work from so many people has gone into this special day. So I'm so excited about today's episode because today we are talking about God fulfilling your dreams. Now, later on in the show, I'll be interviewing Jessica Principie, who is a business boutique success story. She attended a business boutique event, and it gave her the encouragement to launch her business. I'll also be answering some of your questions you asked me at our Business Boutique one-day event in Irvine, California. But first, I'm so excited because we are in the middle of book launch week. This is a huge deal, and I'm sitting here right now as I'm recording this episode with you, holding on to my first book. Y'all, I am a real author. This is a really big deal. Now, as I thought about this episode leading up to recording it, I thought, you know what? Wouldn't it be cool if I could talk about my dream to write this book? Maybe I had a journal entry somewhere back in an old journal or in an old Christmas letter that I write every single year talking about the dream to write a book. So I pulled my old journals out. I started scanning the pages a couple nights ago in preparing for this episode, and I actually brought my journal with me. I have it sitting here in my lap, and it's a black and white journal that I got about 6 years ago when I was in the Dominican Republic. I wanted to record that incredible experience of being on a mission trip, and that was the beginning of that journal that year. Now, I've continued to write in it sporadically since then, and I thought maybe somewhere in the last 6 years, I've talked about this dream. So I started scanning the pages. I've recounted lots of stories about wanting to start a family and wanting to save for a house and tons of big dreams. But you know what? I looked through the pages, and page after page, I couldn't find anything about a dream to write a book. Now, I don't know why I was surprised by this because you know what? I realized when I looked through this journal, I've actually never had a dream to write a book. Now, I know that sounds crazy, and you're going, well, lucky you sitting there with your book and you never even wanted to write one, but hear me out. I realized when I looked at these pages that my dreams were different. Do you want to know what these pages in front of me say? They say things like, man, I have the dream to get promoted to program director, which for those of you that don't know, program director is a step above aquatic director at the YMCA. I really wanted to get promoted from aquatic director to managing not just aquatics, but all programming at the YMCA. I had other goals whenever I launched my blog that maybe, just maybe, I could get 100 blog views in a month. I wasn't writing about anything in particular except my shenanigans and going for races and my silly dog Jackson, but I just wanted to get 100 blog views in 1 month. Those were my dreams, to become program director, to get some blog views, small things like that. You know what I noticed as I scanned these pages of my journal, looking at my handwriting from the last 6 years? I noticed that my dreams were much too small. And now I'm sitting here in front of a microphone with a team producing a podcast for the Business Boutique, something that I created with our team less than 2 years ago. And in one hand, I'm holding my journal, recounting all of my dreams over the last 6 years. And in the other hand, I'm holding my book, a book that makes me a real published author for the very first time, a book that I believe is going to change lives all over the country. Y'all, I can't help but notice the irony of this moment. I'm holding something that represents a dream I never even had. Not that I didn't want to write a book. Y'all, my mind could not conceive of it. It's not that the dream wasn't interesting to me. It's that I could not even imagine, I couldn't fathom being a published author. It never even occurred to me to want that, to pray for that, or to hope for that, and certainly to work for that. I wanted to get 100 blog views per month, remember? Y'all, this book is going to help, hopefully, hundreds of thousands of women, hopefully millions of women over the course of its lifetime. But I never could have imagined that. What did I want? I wanted to become program director. I wanted to get 100 blog views per month. And you know what? Regardless of your business, regardless of your stage of life or your situation, regardless of your industry or your dream, I bet the same is true for you. I bet you're sitting in your car right now, or maybe you're cooking dinner, listening to a podcast, trying to multitask while you're getting things going and keeping life going like you do. And I bet your dreams are so very small. Friend, I bet your dreams are to pay for Disney or maybe pay for soccer camp. Maybe you want to earn a little extra money on the side to help your debt snowball, or maybe you have a different financial goal that you want to reach. Maybe, like me, you'd love to get 100 new Facebook likes or 100 new blog views. Maybe you're in a season where you can't imagine incredible success. Maybe you can't imagine God blessing your business in a way that makes a difference and truly changes lives. But you know what? I believe that He will. I believe that He's going to. I'm sitting here as living proof that He can. So I want to encourage you wherever you are today. If you are on the mountaintop of success, or maybe you are in the valley of discouragement, regardless of where you are, I want you to be faithful where you are. You know, it wouldn't have worked if whenever I was working at the YMCA, I threw everything out and ran out the door and said, I'm going to be a published author. No, I had to be faithful there. I had to be faithful in the small things. I had to be faithful in the season that God had me in. I had to be faithful when I only had 25 blog views. I had to be faithful on the stages where no one showed up to hear me speak, where 3 students showed up in a classroom filled for 1,000, and they were only there because they got extra credit. I had to be faithful at the speaking events where it was Kentucky County Libraries on a Friday night or high school cafeterias where no one wanted to hear what I had to say. I had to be faithful there. Don't despise small beginnings, Scripture says. It's in those small beginnings that God is preparing you for the future. If we're not faithful in the small things, He can't give us those things. I love what Lisa Bevere says about this. She says, obstacles do not prevent you from your calling. They prepare you for it. And I couldn't agree more. I'll tell you guys, I would never be ready to be sitting here today, speaking on a podcast, teaching on stages all over the country alongside Dave Ramsey and other world-class speakers, and holding my first book if I hadn't been faithful in the blogs, in the aquatic department, and all of those small beginnings that God was using to prepare me for what He's doing right now. And I know the same is true for you. So whatever season you might be in, whether that's a season of excitement or overwhelm, whether that's a season of dreaming or doing, whether things are going great or they're really, really hard, I just want to encourage you. Be faithful where you are. Be faithful in the season and the situation that you're in, because I believe that God is preparing something huge for you. I believe He is preparing for you, as Scripture says, more than all you can ask or imagine. C.S. Lewis says, it would seem that our Lord finds our desires not too strong, but too weak. We are like an ignorant child who goes on making mud pies in a slum because he cannot imagine what is meant by the offer of a holiday at the sea. We are far too easily pleased. So women, I want you to hear me. God has big plans for you. And I pray that as you are faithful in these small beginnings, He continues to bless you so that you can sit someday in a different seat and look back and go, you know what? I didn't journal about this. I didn't even dream of it. Because why? My dreams were too small. Where I am today is more than I could ever have asked or even imagined. Now, as I said, I'm sitting here holding a copy of my first book, which of course is a big deal for any new author. But if you'd like to have a copy of the Business Boutique book, it's actually available now. It launched yesterday and we are in the middle of launch week, so it is an exciting week. Now, if you want to get your copy, you can go to businessboutique.com, and when you do, you will actually get a free marketing video, which is a $40 value for just $20. But you know, I have a special deal just for you, my podcast listeners. When you go to businessboutique.com/bbbook and use the code BBBOOK, you'll get an exclusive podcast interview with Nicole Walters on sales. Guys, I want you to have a copy of this book because I truly believe with all my heart, it gives you everything you need to start, run, or grow your business to the level that you want to. It gives you what you need to turn your dream into reality. And I truly believe this book is going to set women free to pursue their passions and change people's lives. Go to businessboutique.com to get your copy today. Now, guys, I am so excited about our interview right now because we have with us a business boutique success story. I'm sitting here with Jessica Principie, who is the owner of All Girls Shave Club. It's a women's shaving subscription service. I love Jessica's story because, like me, she is now experiencing more success than she could have ever imagined. And she's now seeing how faithful God was to her stepping into her plan. Jessica, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Jessica, I love your story. And even as I was reading about a little bit about your business and what you do, I just found it was so interesting how you got this idea. But for our listeners that aren't familiar with the All Girls Shave Club, I would love it if you would tell us a little bit about what your business is and what you do.
Okay, sure. So my business is All Girls Shave Club, and we are a women's shaving subscription service. We provide high quality razors, and we couple that with unique specialty shaving and body products. And it's kind of designed to turn the chore of shaving into a treat.
Oh, I love that because shaving is a chore.
It
I'm like, this
is.
is a great idea already. Now, Jessica, your business is pretty new, right? Like, when did you
Yes.
launch it?
We just launched December 28th, 2016.
Okay, so just a few months old. And you really have had the idea to do it for a little bit longer than that, but you kind of hit some roadblocks. So take me back several months ago, maybe a year ago, when you first were getting this idea, and tell me how that started and then what kind of happened after that.
Sure. So I knew that I wanted to start my own business. I just wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. And so I started praying and asking for guidance and asking for God to kind of direct my path and show me what it was that He wanted me to be doing. I kind of investigated all sorts of different avenues, and nothing really resonated with me until one day it just kind of hit me out of the blue. And I was shaving my legs or getting ready to shave my legs. And that's something that I really didn't enjoy doing. I always found it to be a hassle and put it off as long as I possibly could. And in that moment, I was reaching for my husband's razor because he belonged to a men's shaving club, and he always had fresh blades, and so his were sharper and worked better.
Yeah.
And so I thought to myself, it just kind of hit me. Why isn't there something like this for women and really women focused? But it had to be better than just sending me razors and a brown cardboard mailer. Like, that wasn't going to get me excited. That wasn't going to solve my pain point of not liking it.
Right.
And so I thought, what would that look like? And obviously it had to be a really great razor. It would have to work really well, provide a close shave. And I want it to look nice too. I'm a girly girl. I'm
Sure.
the mom of 2 boys. I'm the only woman living in my home.
Hey, me and you both, hanging
Right?
on.
I know. You like having pink things when
Yeah.
you can, right? And so I thought, let's do that. Let's find something that I can enjoy using, and then also couple that with products that would be fun and exciting and different. And really, like, what woman wants to spend their little free time searching out unique products that they can use to shave their legs? That's not something you're going to spend your free time doing. And so I thought, this is a great opportunity for me to kind of package this together in a really beautiful package and send it almost like a gift to my members and help them solve this pain point.
So, Jessica, this sounds so exciting. I would love to know what all goes in this box. Like, so once they subscribe, they get a box every month, but what all goes in it?
Yeah, so the boxes are different every time they get a new shipment, and I fill them with curated products from other women-owned businesses. I love this part of my job so much because I get to feature products and brands from other women-owned businesses that may not have made it into the homes of my customers. Really unique things like body butter or a really great body scrub or shaving butter, things like that. And I love being able to work alongside these other women.
Well, I love that you do that because that's one of our big banners we carry in the business boutique, which you know from coming to the event. But I'm all about women championing other women.
Yes.
We were just talking about this even before the recording. There really is room for you in the marketplace,
Yes.
and competition doesn't have to be a thing. As we all do our thing, certainly as unto the Lord, the economy just expands. It's not this fixed pie mindset that there's limited resources and the scarcity mindset. We really all can expand the room in the marketplace as we step into this. And I love how you are intentionally championing other women-owned businesses, not just from your mindset and perspective and beliefs, but literally through your business. You're
Yes.
putting their products in your product and allowing them to get exposure. And so what a great example and model for our listeners of how to champion other women and incorporate that into your business idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's one of the most fulfilling parts of my business.
Jessica, I love how you say you got your idea, because one of the things that I work with women on is many of the dreamers, which are the women that come to our events or are listening right now and they're saying, I want to do something, but I don't know what. They are in your shoes from a year ago. They wanted to do something, but not sure what. I give them several different areas of inspiration of how to find their best business idea. And this is some pretty new information I've been putting out there, but I believe that the best business ideas come from one or more of 6 S's. I call them the 6 S's. So it's either going to come from your story. So in Dave Ramsey's example, he went bankrupt and now he's teaching people to not make the mistakes he made.
Right.
So that's his personal story.
Yes.
Or Elf on the Shelf. That came from their personal story of having a little elf.
Love that story.
Your skills, so your education, your strengths, things you're naturally good at, your situation, maybe an opportunity that's in front of you, something socially like your hobby or something you do just for fun. And the 6th one is a solution to a problem. And that's what yours is. You're like, I have a problem. I'm stealing my husband's razors. I don't have cute razors that are pink. I need a fresh razor. And it really was a problem that you had. And interestingly enough, many other people had. And, a lot of times people think, man, I have this problem in my life. Someone should really solve it. And instead they realize, hey, maybe that someone is me.
Do it.
And that's what you did. And so I would love it if you would tell us a little bit about this aha moment. You said it kind of came to you when you realized this wasn't just a problem you had, but how did you know this is something that other people had as well?
Well, I guess I didn't have any concrete proof that it was something that other people suffered with, but I'm assuming that other women are like me and have these same issues and these same pain points. And, I kind of take it a step further than just solving the need of shaving. By providing these products and these unique opportunities to really pamper yourself, I call it giving the woman the opportunity to have a few minutes of luxury-infused self-care. And I think that when we take those few minutes to do this, 5 to 10 minutes a day to pamper ourselves or to nurture ourselves, it really gives us the opportunity to kind of improve our confidence and improve our productivity at work and improve even our relationships with our family. And so being able to solve this need and to be assisting with this with my members is just such a treat.
Well, that's such a great example because true story, you guys can't see me right now, but I'm sitting here in some navy and white polka dot pants, navy pants with white polka dots. And true story, I have this cute new skirt I wanted to wear today, and honest to goodness, did not wear it because I did not want to shave my legs.
Did not want
so
to.
It's just, this is a real problem. Like,
Now
I wish
you
I was
will.
wearing that skirt, but no, I'm wearing pants because I have not shaved my legs. So thank you. I will be participating in the all-girls shave club. It's funny, Jessica, you say you had this problem with shaving. You thought, well, maybe other people do as well. And I think one of our biggest strengths and assets in business as women is we have incredible intuition. And we are fantastic at empathizing, at putting ourselves in someone else's shoes.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. In my book, Business Boutique, I do not spend any time, 0 time talking about customer service. I don't teach customer service. And if you remember from the event, I don't talk about customer service.
Yes.
Why? Because it's natural for us. As women, we are nurturers. We love to take care of people. We love to go above and beyond and super serve. We put ourselves in their shoes. We empathize with what they must be feeling. It's an incredible asset. And it's funny because you know what your customers need because you are able to do that. You're able to put yourself in their shoes and think, well, I bet other women struggle with this as well, which is so true. And that's probably one of the reasons that your business is so successful so fast is because they're going, yeah, you understand me. With Business Boutique, this was a few years ago, but we were doing research on women with small businesses and I was gathering all these themes and patterns and I was communicating it to our team. And the leadership team I was working with, we have a ton of leaders here and certainly plenty of women are leaders. But the leaders in my specific business of what I was working on were all men. So I was pitching this idea to Dave, right? I was teaching him all about women in the Business Boutique and what I was learning about our surveys and here's what they need and here's how they think. And, for them, it's an element of their identity of proving that they have something to contribute. And I'm trying to communicate the mindset of this market. And so one of our team members spoke up and he said, that's really interesting. My wife experiences that as well. He said, just the other day, she decided to launch her Etsy store and she sold her first pair of earrings and she got a notification on her phone that she sold her first pair of earrings that she made and she started crying in the car because she's like, I can't believe someone would want to buy this from me, something I made. And so he's starting to understand. You're seeing that he's getting, okay, this is a different market, a different mindset. And Dave looks across the table and goes, well, that's interesting because it would never occur to me to cry when I made a sale. And I was like, that's so true. But that's why it's on me as the creator of Business Boutique to communicate to our team that's not the market. Dave is not our market,
That's
okay? I think
right.
that's pretty clear.
This is different.
To communicate, hey, here's what they think. Here's how they feel. Here's their problems that we need to solve. And so I'll be honest, Jessica, when it came down to writing the Business Boutique book, the second chapter, chapter 2, is an entire chapter on fear. And it's one of the longest chapters. And a lot of the leadership, a lot of the men are like, why are you spending so much time on fear? This isn't a problem. I was like, this is a problem.
This is a huge problem.
I know what they're thinking. I've been in their shoes and I know what they're struggling with. And so I had to fight and fight and fight for these things because I empathize with them. I know my market and I'm right there with them. I experience it too, just like you do as well. And so there's a great piece of wisdom there for those of you listening. What a gift it is that you have the intuition and the ability to empathize with your market and with your customers and understand what they're feeling. That will be the thing that allows you to connect with them and helps you become so successful and credible with them. And so that's certainly been true in your case.
Absolutely. That is great advice. Absolutely.
You said something really interesting a second ago. You said, I knew I wanted to start my own business, but I didn't know what. And you know that, Jessica, that's really different than a lot of women I've worked with, where many women I work with, they don't consider themselves business-minded. And so they don't have a background in business. They don't have a degree in business. And actually, in just our last podcast, we featured a woman that has been successful in business despite the fact that she doesn't have a background in business or even really a desire to do a business. Many women I've worked with, I find they kind of accidentally slide into business. They don't decide one day to have a business. And you're so different than that. So you decided you wanted to have a business even before you had the idea. And I believe, if I remember correctly, you have a background in business. Is that right?
It's true. Yes. I have my bachelor's degree in marketing as well as business administration.
Okay, so that's really similar to mine. My degree is in advertising and then my minor is in business. And then also, like me, I worked in my mom's shop for a while. You work for your mom, right? Part-time or full-time?
That's right. After I graduated college, she offered me a full-time position with her company that she had just started a few years earlier. So it was a great opportunity for me to learn and see how a business can grow from the ground up. And I was able to apply the tools that I learned in college to the business and see the results of those efforts. And so I've been with her ever since, going on 13 years now, and I work with her still 30 hours a week.
I find that's really true as well because you can take classes in business. Like a lot of women, whether you have a background in business or not, those of you that are listening, you can take these classes and you can read the textbook and you could talk through different scenarios, but it's nothing like being in the trenches. Like you can read all the books in the world, you can have the best professor ever and lots of slideshows and read studies, but it's nothing like dealing day to day with the problems that come up, with the crazy customers that you encounter.
And
because
there are.
there are crazy customers. It's so different being in the trenches of day-to-day business. And so you were able over the last 13 years and even still in working for your mom to learn the business in real life business. And I imagine that's really set you up to start your own business now on the side that you've been able to.
Absolutely. I have learned so much. And I think that formal education is so important, and it absolutely is, but it is not the only way to be successful. You learn so much just by experience, and I absolutely have learned a ton in the last few years.
That's what I tell people all the time. Often their excuse of why they're not going to start their business yet is they're not ready. They're like, I'm not ready. Yeah. I don't have enough experience. I'm like, here's the thing. Whether in parenting or in business, you learn the most while on the job.
Absolutely.
So get started because you're going to learn the most by doing. So
just
start doing.
Do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's such a great point, and that's certainly been true in your story. Now, Jessica, your business is very, very new. You're just a few months old, but you've already seen incredible success. So I would love it if you'd tell our listeners, like, what were your expectations in terms of what you could earn in your business when you first started, and what are you actually earning?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I actually had no idea what to expect. Like I said, this was kind of just going to be a side thing for me. My first goal was just to gain 100 members by the end of my first month. That was what I was prepared to work really hard for. And we blew that out of the water. And we are just shy of our 3-month anniversary. And we have already earned $20,000 in revenue.
That's amazing.
Yes,
congratulations.
We're so excited. Thank you. And the most exciting part is I am on track to replicate my salary within this first year. So it's just been extraordinary.
You know, Jessica, you have all of the right pieces pieces of the puzzle. You have a background in business, you have experience in business through your mom's shop, you've got your idea, and now you're seeing incredible success. But one of the things that I want to point out really quickly, and I'd love for us to go back a little bit further, and you talk about this time that you always didn't feel this immediate success. It wasn't like, okay, you got your degree, check. You worked for your mom, check.
Right.
And you got your idea, check. And then it was this perfect upward climb to success of now you've got 20 grand in a couple months. You had some downtimes, and you had some times where you really felt stuck and scared. So take us back to after you got this idea, what happened next? Because you didn't just immediately launch into success, right? What was going on during that time?
That's right. So the idea came to me in May, and I spent the next 3 months intensively researching how I wanted the business to look, how I wanted it to help other women. And I was on absolute information overload. This was a completely new venture for me. I had never done anything e-commerce based. Everything was completely overwhelming, and I started to kind of doubt my confidence, doubt my skills, doubt my abilities, and I was really overtaken by fear at that point. And I didn't feel like I really knew the next step or if I was even doing the right thing or even if I should keep on going. And I knew that I needed something, a mentor or someone or something to kind of help me get through this very difficult time. And that was when my husband suggested that I come and attend a business boutique event. When he sent me the link, it was everything that I needed. It was an answer to a prayer, truly. I registered as fast as I could, and I was so excited that it was happening in just a few short months.
Well, I think a lot of people expect that if you have a background in business and you have business experience, you've got all the right things, that you wouldn't be scared. But what I remind people again and again is it doesn't matter your business, your industry, your level of success, how long you've been doing it. Fear is a normal part of the journey. It is with you every step of the way. And every time you do something new, that fear is going to creep up. And you've even seen that. You have been in business with your mom in the trenches for 13 years, and you were doing your own thing, this new thing that was unknown. And you were scared so much so that even though you had your idea and had experience, you were stuck. You hadn't launched yet because you were so scared. So I think that's so validating to our listeners going, man, if I just had a degree or man, if I just had more experience, I wouldn't be scared. But that's not true.
No.
That's why I tell women, you don't wait till you're not scared to do the thing. You just do it scared. Now, you eventually did. So tell me about what that was like going to the Business Boutique event and what takeaways did you receive? Because those 2 days are jam-packed. Like we cover a lot. What for you was the turning point or the biggest takeaway that changed things in your mind where you left there going, I'm going to do it. I'm ready to do it now.
Well, I think you just touched on it. I absolutely learned how to do it scared. And I think that that is such an important thing. At the Business Boutique, there were photo backdrops available for attendees to take pictures. And they had these beautiful hand-lettered signs with encouraging words and positive statements. And I took a picture that day with the sign that says, "Do it scared." And that picture stays on my cell phone and in my office. And it's just such a great reminder that the surest way to fail is by not doing it at all. And so whether that might be doing a Facebook Live or sending an email blast or contacting a new vendor, whatever that might be that's causing fear, it's better to do it scared than to not do it at all.
That's so good. I love how you just said that. It's better to do it scared than not do it at all. I hope you guys are taking notes because this is so good. And this is from someone who's actually done it. You've actually done it scared, and now you're
all
seeing...
the time.
Every day, actually. And now you've seen this incredible success, but it was because you were willing to do it scared. Now, Jessica, I know for a lot of people that maybe they have their idea, but they're not sure what are those first steps they're supposed to take to actually, quote unquote, make it a business. I was on the show with Dave Ramsey just last week, and this woman called and she said, I've been doing this thing as a hobby, and now I want to make it a business. How do I, from a legal standpoint, make it a business? And the way she said it, Dave and I kind of tuned into this. We're like, I think a lot of people think like, da, 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 I've got to make this legal proclamation and jump off a cliff and say, I am a business. It's like, no, you're already doing it. Just start charging.
Yeah.
It's really simple. Like, just set up a little business checking account, take some cash, and boom, you're a business.
You're doing it, yeah.
So for you, when you left the Business Boutique and you decided, you know what, I'm going to do it scared, what were those first steps where you had done the research, but now it was time to actually take action, put the thing out, and see if it was going to fly? What did you do to make it, quote unquote, a business? business?
Yeah. So with a subscription box business like mine, I did something called a pre-launch, and I was able to gauge interest in the service that I was offering. And I was able to collect emails of interested candidates or interested members. And so I spent the next month working on that.
And talk about that really quickly, because our listeners may not know what that means with the pre-launch. So explain to me, how did you gauge their interest? What did you use, and how did you monitor that to know if it would be successful?
Yeah. So I set up a landing page using Kickoff Labs, and it outlined what it was that I was going to be offering, and it gave an opportunity for an interested member to leave an email address. They could be notified when we launched the business. And I promoted that through social media. I did some Facebook ads. I shared it generically. It also had a social share element to it. So when somebody signed up, if they shared with their friends, they could earn rewards. And it kind of just took it around, not really virally, but it just kind of took it around the internet that way. And so when I was ready to launch, I launched to my email list that I had prepared.
I think this is really interesting. And you're showing right now, Jessica, you're showing that you do have business smarts, because most people wouldn't do that. I think that's really impressive that you did that. When you set up that page, did you have a baseline of, I've got to get a minimum of X amount of email addresses to prove to me this is a viable idea? Or what were your expectations, and what did you actually receive in terms of interest?
Yeah, that's a great question. I did a lot of research in this industry specifically, and I knew that these types of landing pages or these launches, these pre-launches, typically convert at about 10%.
Okay.
And so I knew that I wanted to have a certain number. I really wanted 1,000 email addresses to be able to reach my goal of 100 for the first month. I was not able to reach the 1,000, but I still, when I launched, I was able to meet my goals. So I was really fortunate.
Okay, so what was your conversion rate then? If you didn't reach your goal of 1,000, what number did you actually convert of the amount of email addresses you received?
We converted about 10%, but we were able to add members that weren't necessarily on the email list. So when we launched, I think part of that was people were excited about it. A lot of people don't want to leave their email address and not be able to receive a product or not be able to have that instant gratification.
Right.
So I found that once we were live, we were able to see a lot more activity than just off of the email list.
Perfect. Well, I think the fact that you did that research on the front end, even last summer when you were scared, you did your research, so you knew the market, and then you did this pre-launch where you gauged interest, which is so smart, especially for a brand new idea. Then from there, what did you do to say, okay, I've got enough interest, I'm ready to actually sell this now. I'm ready to actually come up with the box and the packaging and ship and the pricing. What did you do to make that happen?
Yeah, so I actually started working on that concurrently while I was doing the pre-launch. I knew that I was going to do this. I knew that I was going to make it work. Whether I had a successful pre-launch campaign or not, I was really motivated after leaving the event. And so I had worked on designing the box. I had worked on designing the packaging, and I had started reaching out to vendors and making connections and talking to them about my goals and how I would be purchasing product from them and things like that. And so I really was ready. When I left Business Boutique, I was just so on fire, and I was so motivated to get this going that we launched it a week earlier than we planned, and we were so amazed with the results.
I love that, because one of the things I talk to women about all the time, and I talk about it in the podcast, I talk about it in the book, I certainly talk about it at events, which you know, I hear so many different reasons, quote unquote, for you guys listening that can't see me doing my fingers and the little quote thing, but really excuses of why women don't start, and so much of it is based in fear. And the truth is that if you can interact with something, whether that's a podcast or whether that is the Business Boutique book, or you come to an event, or even you interact with our Business Boutique Academy and you talk to other women in that space, if you get motivation, if you get inspiration, if you get fired up, oftentimes that's all you need to overcome any challenges you experience in business. You know, in our last podcast episode, for you guys that listened, you know, I talked about the 5 qualities you need to have to be successful in business. And it's not even what we're talking about today of being business-minded and having a degree and all these things. It really is just being a little bit scrappy. It's just being willing to try. It's just being persistent. Because even if you do have a background in business like you do, and you have 13 years of business experience like you do, and you have this awesome idea, and the product idea is proven like you do, you still have got to be persistent and willing to try and put it out there. And I love that you were, because those are the things that really allowed you to push past that fear, come home from the event motivated, ready to do the thing. So that's such a great example. Jessica, now you are working almost full-time in your mom's business.
I am.
You have your business, which is taking off so fast in just the last couple months. You have 2 young boys.
I do.
I'm going to ask you the question that everyone is thinking, that everyone asks women that are doing what you're doing. how do you do it?
Yeah.
Tell me about what your days are like, what your schedule's like, what is your version of life balance, and really how do you manage your time to be able to do these things?
Absolutely. It's not easy. I'll be honest. It's definitely something that we learn and we continue to adapt as we go. But I feel really strongly that you have to put in the time and you have to put in the work in order to achieve the success. And so we work really hard at trying to achieve work-life balance. And actually, I've adopted one of the techniques that you teach at Business Boutique, and that is to be present with my family when it's time for family time. And then to focus on my work when it's time to focus on work. And by doing that, that gives me the freedom to not feel guilty about either one of those things.
Good.
But yeah, it's absolutely a lot of balancing and juggling and long, long days. I work during the day. I take care of my children in the evening, and then I work into the night and late into the night and early into the morning, and that's how we make it work. But I know that it's worth the sacrifice and worth the time.
Well, I think that's a great piece of advice too, because even just hearing you talk about it, you realize that you are in a season. You know, as your business is a startup, this is a season. It's not going to always be this crazy, hopefully.
Right.
And your next year, 2018 may look different than this year does because of the work that you're creating right now. And I'm going to ask you a question. Your husband's here with you. And a lot of the questions I get from men and women in marriages where the woman is starting a business or growing a business is, how do I get my spouse on board? And then I get the question from men, how do I support my spouse? And so talk to me a little bit about, what are y'all's conversations like in terms of being on the same page and being a team towards your specific goal?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like I am just very, very blessed to have such a supportive and loving husband. He really has been my biggest advocate, my biggest support throughout this whole process.
Now, he sent you the business boutique initially, right? He's the one that introduced you to it.
He introduced me, and it was seriously just such a blessing. And he works with me, and he helps me and supports me in every way that he can. But he also gives me the freedom to make the decisions that I need, and doesn't make me feel guilty for choosing to do the work that I need to do. And I think that that's just so important that we have that kind of team effort. And he helps pick up the slack too. So when I'm busy and when I'm working so much, he's there with the kids, and he's helping to cook dinner and go to the grocery store sometimes. And we're just very fortunate that we work so well together.
Is there anything that you did when you first had this idea of how you presented it to him? Like, how did you first tell him about this idea? Because I'll tell you, Jessica, I just got to be honest here for a minute. I have 100 new ideas a minute. And I come home and I'm like, Matt, you'll never believe I'm going to change the world. And here's my 50 new ideas. This happens every day. So at some point he's like, oh, okay, Christy, it's the new idea of the minute. But for him, one of the ways that when I'm presenting something to him, whether this is a house goal, I want to remodel something, I want to build a new deck, or it's a business goal where, hey, I'm going to need to travel, I usually start with a lot of telling him my why. Here's why I want to do this. Here's why this matters to me. For you, when you first had this idea after your aha moment of what you wanted to do, how did you talk to your husband about it? Like, how did you present that to him?
It's so interesting that you say that, because we like to lead with our whys. As women, we do. For me, TJ, my husband, knew that I wanted to do something, and we had been kind of entertaining various ideas along the way. But for him, he wanted to know, okay, how is this going to logistically work? How much is this going to cost?
That is my husband, TJ. It's the same exact thing as Matt.
Yeah.
How much money? How much time? How will this work? I'm like,
exactly.
Details.
I know. Why can't they just see it from our side?
Right.
But yeah, so that was kind of the conversation that we had, was how are we going to work this out? And we had been preparing. We had saved some money to be able to execute on an idea whenever the right one came along.
Right.
So we were able to do that. But he wanted to know all of those little details and make sure that it was viable before we could really take that risk.
It's funny. I heard one time that in every marriage, there is a wow person and a how person.
Yes.
And the wow person is me.
Yeah,
it's the person that comes home every day. It's like, wow, I have a new idea. Now, the how person is the, how will this work? How will you pay for it? How long will it take? And so the rule of thumb I've heard is that when the wow person comes home with a new idea, the how person is not allowed to ask any how questions for 24 hours.
Wow.
Because when they do, it feels like the wow person, their parade is getting rained on, right?
Totally.
They're just killing my dream,
Yes.
right and left. So this is the idea. The wow person comes home with an idea. The how person cannot ask any how questions for 24 hours. All they can do is be excited. Wow, wow, wow with you. We all just shout wow and high five.
I love
now,
it.
24 hours later, if the wow person is still talking about that idea, which is very unlikely because they have moved on to 20 new ideas, but if they are, Then the how person gets to ask their how questions like, okay, well, you're still talking about it a day later. That's amazing. How will this work? How long will it take? How much money will it cost?
I love this.
I love that. We've tried that in
Yes.
our marriage because my husband is certainly the how person, but it's such a good balance of how that works because you need both. You need the wow and you also need the how. So
You do,
that's a
yeah.
great piece of advice.
Sounds very familiar.
You know, another thing that I've done, Jessica, in terms of talking with my husband, because I think it's so important to be on the same page as a family, even if
Yes.
it's just your business, you know, if you're not in business together, but to be on the same page, because you're talking about
Absolutely.
time, you're talking about money, you're talking about resources. One of the things that I've done with Matt, and I've realized that this probably will work for other people as well, is I've asked him what he needs. And so I'll say to him, what information do you need to feel comfortable with this? What concerns do you have? And I ask him questions of what he needs that he then tells me what information I need to give him. And the same is true for men asking, how do I support my wives? And so I tell them the same thing. Why don't you ask your wife, what do you need from me to feel
Yeah.
supported by me? Because every personality is different. Every set of strengths is different. Every marriage dynamic is different in how they communicate. So I just tell both women and men. To the women listening, say, how do I get my husband on board? I would say, ask him what he needs. What do you
Absolutely.
need from me to be excited about this? What information, what fears, etc. And then to the men listening, I would say, ask your wives, what do you need from me to feel supported? How can I encourage you towards your dream? How can I support you? And then when they tell you specifically what speaks love to them or what means something to them, then you can meet that need. Because it's just like giving gifts. You know, my husband and I are total opposites. So when it comes down to birthdays, he wants something practical. I want something luxurious. Don't give me a blender. I don't want a raincoat. You know, and so when you start to think through what that person needs, you can meet those needs. And in this
Absolutely.
example, you can give them the gift they want, not the gift you would want.
That is such good information because we need to be able to support each other in the ways that we need that support the most.
And we don't
Yeah.
always know what that is. So
And
just
it's true.
ask.
That's right.
Ask what that is. Jessica, now I know some people listening right now want to find out, how can I get my luxurious razors? How can I get this whipped shave butter and turn this into a luxury in my life? Me too. So please tell our listeners how they can connect with you and learn more.
Thank you. You can visit our website, which is allgirlshaveclub.com. You can also find us on Instagram or Facebook at allgirlshaveclub.com.
Perfect. Jessica, this has been so fun. I feel like I could talk to you all day about
thank
business and
you.
life and motherhood and having two crazy boys and keeping it all together. But I would love it as we wrap up if you would just speak freely to our listeners, talk to them directly, and maybe give them some encouragement. There may be women that are in your shoes a year ago where they want to do something, but they're not sure what. Maybe they're in your shoes 6 months ago where they have their idea, but they're stuck and they're scared. Or maybe they are not business-minded. They don't have your background and they're going, okay, that's easy for you, but it's not for me. Maybe give some encouragement to women at different stages of business and where you have been that they can do this and they can win.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to do that because one of the things that I carry with me and that I like to share with other people who ask me questions about my business and how they can do the same thing is something that I learned at Business Boutique. And when you were talking specifically about crushing fear and the lies and truths that we tell ourselves, and one of the biggest lies is that somebody out there is doing it and doing it better, and there's no room for you to do it. And I think that that is just so unfortunate, and I wish that people could focus on the fact that there is room for you too, and that we are all given such unique and special gifts, talents, skill sets, whatever that might be, and nobody can execute your dream the way that you can. And so to make sure that you do your part, do the best that you can do, if God put a dream in your heart, He will pull you through. And I think that that is kind of my mantra, and I live for that. I just work as hard as I can, and I know that He is going to be my best business partner and get me to where I want to go.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
I love what you just said. I'm totally going to quote you on this next time I'm on stage. No one can execute your dream the way that you can.
That's
That is
right.
brilliant. Jessica, that's so good.
Thank you.
This has been so awesome for me. I love hearing your story because, as you know, the Business Boutique exists exactly for this, to help women live their dream. And you are such a shining poster child of that. It makes me so happy to have you here in our office here in Nashville, Tennessee, and get to
Thank
hear your
you.
story and meet you. And I know our listeners that are maybe earlier in the stage of their process are listening to your story going, okay, if she can do it, maybe I can too. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Y'all, isn't Jessica's story incredible? I absolutely love this woman. I'm so proud of her and all that she's doing in her business. I'm inspired by her success, and I hope that you are too. I love hearing your stories. Now, one of the transition points for Jessica that really changed the game for her was a Business Boutique event. If you would like to come to a Business Boutique event this spring, I've got 2 left happening this week. I'm heading to Atlanta today, and we will have a Business Boutique one-day event tomorrow in Atlanta, Georgia, and the other one will be this Friday in San Antonio, Texas. Now, both of these are a part of our book tour, so they are an exciting time. Y'all, I'm speaking along with Dave Ramsey, and we give you all the basics that you need to start, run, or grow your business in this really fun one-day event. Now, if you want to attend an event, of course, you know I've got a special code for you, my podcast listeners. You can get $5 off any ticket by using the code BBWright. That's BBWRIGHT if you go to businessboutique.com, and you'll get $5 off any ticket. So that's tomorrow, April 19th in Atlanta, Georgia. And the last Business Boutique one-day event is this Friday, April 21st in San Antonio, Texas. I'll be speaking and I'll be signing my books during the break. This is an exciting week of book launch, so you guys get a ticket, get your book, come on out because I'd love to meet you and see you there. Now, you guys probably know, but we've had several Business Boutique one-day events already this spring, and one of my favorite parts of this event is that we have a podcast booth set up with our podcast producer, Chris Wright. He's taking your questions, and I get to answer those now. So let's dive into your questions and see how I can help. The first question comes from Lorianne Overland. Lorianne, how can I help?
My name is Lori Ann Overland, and my business is celebrity catering. My question, and I think it is for a lot of ladies, is I could market like crazy to do this. The challenge is that Monday through Friday, I'm sitting in my cubicle, and I am not getting out there to shake hands and to pass out my awesome cookies to people. How do you hustle your company when you're not getting out of your cubicle?
You know, Lorianne, that's a great question, and it's a really common struggle for anyone running a side business. Whether you're parenting full-time or you're working full-time or even working part-time, it can be a struggle to manage all of your day-to-day responsibilities and still have your side hustle going. I'll give you 2 quick pieces of advice that may help you in this season that you're in. The first piece of advice is you've got to realize that your time is finite. So whereas before, maybe you were jam-packed with all of your many responsibilities, and now you're adding a side business, whether you're adding 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 hours a week to dedicate to your side business, you've got to find ways to give up 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 hours a week of something you're currently doing. You might be giving up free time, or maybe you're giving up time cleaning the house. Maybe you're giving up sleep because you're going to stay up later. Your time is finite though. So when you're adding time for your side business, something has got to go. You've got to look at your calendar, look at your schedule and where your time goes, and find ways to cut out things when you're not in the office. You've got evenings, you've got mornings, and you've got weekends to work on your side business. What can be cut out to make time for this side business just for this season? Which brings me to my second piece of advice. I want you to remember that where you are right now is a season. It's not going to be like this forever. You may have a crazy busy season of 6 months or a year as you work your full-time job, you build up your side business, and you have every other aspect of your life that's still going at the same time. But it's just a season. The goal is that you could get your side business built up enough that it's more efficient, maybe you have more help, and maybe even you quit your full-time job if that's a goal for you. Now, you get to decide what your version of success is, but if it's a goal for you, then this season would not last forever. You will not always be working a full-time job in a cubicle and a side business. So remember, you may have to work really hard for this season, but it won't last forever. And I promise you, when you get to the other side, you reach your goals, and this becomes your full-time thing, it will be worth it. I want to also encourage you, it seems like, since you said that your business is celebrity catering, most of your business probably would be in the evenings. There are a lot of different events that go on in the celebrity world that would be something you could actually support and participate in because they happen on evenings and weekends. So don't be discouraged. Your industry might actually help you connect with your customers, even though it doesn't happen during the workday 8 to 5. That's a great question, and I just want to encourage you. You're doing a great job. I know it's crazy. I know it's imperfect, and sometimes you probably feel like you don't have it together. But if you stick with it, I promise you, you will win. Great question, Lorianne. Now, our next question is from Annette. Annette, how can I help?
My name is Annette, and my business is an interpreting business. My full-time work is interpreting. That's what I do. I'm an interpreter. But in addition to the work actually going out and performing my job, how do I know how much time I should be investing in the business? I'm like, is there a certain percentage of time that you should invest in the business if it's not actually doing the job?
Annette, that's a great question. And oftentimes people ask me for a certain percentage or a rule of thumb when it comes to dividing their hours. But in your case, the amount of hours that you would dedicate to working on your business should relate to your goals. So for example, what goals do you have for your business? Maybe it's to increase your client base or to improve your marketing. Maybe you want to increase your top line revenue or improve your personal income. Whatever goals that you're setting around your business will then translate into amount of time that you need to work towards those goals. Obviously, you will spend time throughout your week serving your customers and performing the actual job of the business. But if you want to reach goals, you have to stretch beyond that. You have to work towards efforts that help you reach those goals beyond your day-to-day tasks. So I would encourage you to look at your goals and figure out how much time it will take to get you to those goals. That's the answer to your question of how much time you should spend working on the business. Great question. Thanks for asking. Now, our next question comes from Danielle. Danielle, how can I help?
My name is Danielle Thomas, and my question is, how much money should we be willing to invest in our business on like a month-to-month basis? Like, is it a percent? Is it depending on how much money we're actually making? Like, do we need to be making a profit 100% of the time to then put more money back? Should you put it on a credit card? Should you wait till you make a profit? Should you go into debt to make a profit?
All right, Danielle, I hear you, and you got a lot of questions, and I love it because you're thinking through where the money should go, and I love that you're asking that because that shows you're going to be proactively taking control of your money, which is a step ahead of most people. First and foremost, no credit cards, Danielle. You know we're Dave Ramsey Company. We don't do credit cards. So no credit cards and no debt. Let me really simply answer your question about how much money you invest back into your business. The amount of money that you invest back into your business depends on your goals. So the top line number that comes in every single month from the sale of your products or your services is called your revenue. Your revenue needs to pay for your cost of goods, which are your materials. It needs to pay for your overhead costs, which are any other expenses that you incur as a part of running your business. This would be marketing costs or gas for deliveries or rent for a retail space. So once you've paid for all cost of goods and materials, you've paid for all overhead costs in running your business, then what's left is the amount of money that you want to use called your net profit. Your net profit needs to pay for taxes, saving for emergencies, and saving to reinvest back into the business. You want to set aside 25% for taxes. You want to save for emergencies. So if you don't have an emergency fund, you want to be pretty aggressive here to where you can build up 3 to 6 months of business expenses for an emergency fund. This is going to help you in case your computer crashes or something goes wrong. Then the last number is the number that you reinvest back into the business, and that's the number you're asking about. This number will totally depend on your goals. If there's nothing in particular that you're working towards right now, you don't need a new website, you don't need a new computer, you don't need some new piece of equipment, then you don't have to save anything right now in terms of working towards a goal. You can take home that extra money. But the moment that you have a goal of something you want to pay for in the future, maybe your computer is getting old and you know you're going to need to replace it, so you plan for that purchase, or maybe you have a new upgrade or a new marketing initiative. Maybe you want to get a professional graphic designer to make brochures for you. Whatever those goals are, you need to save and plan for those purchases. That's where that money comes from. So you choose your percentage or dollar amount based on your goals and how quickly you want to get there. If you have 6 months before you make that purchase, you back out and you save 1/6 of that amount every month until it's time to make the purchase. So I hope this answers your question, but in a very simple way, it depends on your goals. What are you working towards? That's the amount that you need to save per month until you get there. Now, one other tool I want to give you, Danielle, is our Profit Potential tool. I want you to go to businessboutique.com and use our Profit Potential tool. What you do is you enter your email address, and this is totally free. It's a calculator that shows you a snapshot of all of the most important numbers in your business. When you answer a few basic questions about your business, how many units you sell, how much things cost you, it's going to show you this incredible overview of all of these numbers. It's going to show you your revenue, how much to save for taxes, what your expenses are, what your take-home pay is. It will allow you to see and change those numbers in real time. So you can see what your annual revenue is going to be, and then you can actually use these little sliders at the bottom to adjust some of those numbers, such as units sold or cost of goods. And you can see how small changes make a huge impact in the numbers in your business. So Danielle, I want you to use this. This will help you understand the numbers in your business and show you what changes you need to make to reach your specific goals. So go to businessboutique.com/profit and use the tool to get started. Great question, and I'm glad you asked because that shows you're taking control of your money. Thanks for asking, Danielle. Now, if you have a question about something we've talked about here on the podcast or anything regarding your business, I want to hear from you. You can send me your questions via Twitter and Facebook by using the hashtag AskChristyWright. We've also set up a group in the Business Boutique community at businessboutique.com called hashtag AskChristyWright, where you can send me your questions and interact with the rest of the women there. And if you come out to either of our next Business Boutique one-day events this week, you can stop by our podcast booth like these women and ask your question there. I can't wait to hear from you. Okay, guys, your homework for this week is a little different. I have a favor to ask you. Now, you guys know I don't ask you for favors very often, but I have one this week. As you know, it is book launch week, which is so exciting. But even more than being excited, y'all, I believe in this book. I have seen how God is changing lives through this message, whether that's through our podcast or through our events or our Business Boutique community, and now an actual book that people can take home and use every step of the way. So I need your help. This is where you come in. Your homework for this week is to do me a favor and spread the word about the Business Boutique book on your social media. As you share this message about the Business Boutique, you can tag me at Christy B. Wright and use the hashtag Business Boutique. When you spread this message about Business Boutique, you're not only spreading the word, but you're allowing us to make more of an impact that truly will change women's lives. So your homework for this week is to simply share on social media about our Business Boutique book to help us spread the word and change lives. Well, I'm heading off to my next stop on the book tour, Atlanta, Georgia, for our Business Boutique one-day event tomorrow. That's it for this week, and thanks so much for hanging out with me as always. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, and for more encouragement on how to make money doing what you love, visit businessboutique.com.
Mercy Me is coming to Pittsburgh. The Together Again tour with Mercy Me, Crowder, and special guest Andrew Rip, Thursday, October 5th. Bring your family and friends to the PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh for Mercy Me, Crowder, and Andrew Rip live in concert. 3 multiple award-winning artists on one stage for one night. Let your spirit soar, your heart sing, and your faith ignite. Mark your calendars for Thursday, October 5th. Get your tickets now at mercyme.org.